boys and girls. Today we're going to learn how to use area models to solve division equations. Remember, area models are very similar to arrays. An array is a group of objects arranged in rows and columns, and so is an area model. The only difference with area models is that the objects are represented by squares. And the squares are always touching. There's no space between, so it looks like a grid. So we're going to use the problem of the week that we used with equal groups and that we used with arrays. And since this is a word problem, and with word problems we always use the read, draw, write process, that's what we're going to do today. So the first step of the read, draw, write process is of course to read, but as you read you visualize what's happening in your mind the way you would if you were reading a story. You visualize it like you're watching it as a movie in your mind. Okay, so you can read with me. Mrs. Wright baked 15 cookies for her 5 children to share equally. How many cookies did each child get? Now that we've read the story and we visualized, we need to think about what we visualized by asking ourselves some questions. Every story has a character, so we need to think about who the character is in this story. Well, Mrs. Wright is the character. Now we need to think about what the objects are in the story, because math is really just doing stuff with a bunch of objects. So what objects is Mrs. Wright doing something with? Well, it's cookies. Cookies are the objects in the story. Now we need to think about what she's doing with those objects. She's taking the cookies and she's sharing them. Okay, now that we visualize, this is where we draw. And we are drawing an area model today as our strategy. So with our area model, we're going to show how to share the 15 cookies with 5 children. Okay, so let's think about what our 15 cookies represent. Well, that's the total number of objects. And our 5 children that we're sharing the cookies with is the number of groups. So we're going to draw the area model to represent 15 cookies being shared into 5 groups. And I'm going to start my division equation. With a division equation, we always start with our total, and our total number of objects is 15. In this division equation, our total is being divided into 5 groups. Okay, and our question, how many cookies did each child get, is asking us to find the number of objects in each group. So since our 5 children represent our groups, and we know that in an array and an area model, the rows represent the groups, then each row is going to represent 1 child. Okay, so now all we have to do is fair share. We're going to distribute the cookies evenly by giving 1 to each child until we're out. So I'm going to start with my first row. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's my first column. So far, I've given 5 cookies away. But remember, my total is 15, so I'm not finished yet. I'm going to start on my next column. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's another 5 cookies. So far I've given away 5 plus 10 equals, 5 plus 5 equals 10. I've given away 10 total cookies. But I had 15 to give away, so I'm not finished yet. I'm going to start on my next row, my next column. All right, that's 5 more. 5, 10, 15. So I've given away 15 cookies, and that's all I had to give away. So now I've represented that I have shared 15 total cookies with 5 children, divided it into 5 groups. So in order to figure out how many each child got, I just have to count how many squares or objects are in each row. 1, 2, 3 in each row. So 15 cookies divided by 5 children equals 3 cookies for each child. So now I'm going to write the answer to my question. How many cookies did each child get? Each child got 3 cookies. Okay, now that you have watched the video, I want you to go to the assignment division with area models, and I want you to solve the problem using an area model as your strategy, using an area model to model your problem.